I do have some updates that will be coming out soon. So is everyone aware of the new restaurant setup for reporting? That you can set all your restaurants up to have like their own custom invoice. I think I might have gone over this a while back, but it is live now. And I can show it to you. 1 second, I'll get a screen share fired up.
And this is where you set that up in their restaurant profile, right? In that financials tab.
Correct.
Yeah, that was tell me, does some of that stuff have to do with the new tax feature that you guys have coming live soon?
It has to do with the new tax feature. It also just has to do with the fact that before, when you ran restaurant invoices to pay restaurants, which of course is how they get paid through auto pay as well, right? So in the case of like Jeremiah, for example, he's on the call. He pays, I want to say, 100% of your restaurants, maybe 99% of your restaurants using auto pay, right, Jeremiah?
Yeah, we pay 100% that way.
Yeah. So right now, the way auto pay works is it looks at that invoice that is run with the default settings and it pays the restaurants like that. So if the default setting is don't include takeout tips, none of them will get takeout tips. If you change that setting, or if we were to change that setting to say it's defaulted on, then all of them would get takeout tips, right? If your default setting is to not pay them the taxes and you remit it, then none of them will get the taxes. And if you change it to give them the taxes, all of them get the taxes, right? Like the invoice report right now is a mass report that assumes that all your restaurants, you pay them the same way, right? So we realize that that's an issue, and we've made this update. So now when you go into a restaurant and you go to financials, there are restaurant invoice report settings now. So now you can select these settings, like if you're going to show the invoice, if you're going to pass the tip to the restaurant, like all this stuff you can just include here. Then when you run the report that we're going to be releasing, it will just adopt those features. So you can't see it yet, but this is when we're testing. I do it this way. I have the developers create a report. This blue line means that only I can see it. You guys can't, because what I don't want is like there to be some error and you start using this report and then there's a huge issue. So right now you all will only see invoice, but I can run these side by side and say, and be able to compare the two reports and make sure they all look right. So essentially now, when you run the report, and again, I'll pull them up side by side. I believe we'll get this out next week on Tuesday. As long as I don't find any glaring issues by the rest of the week. So right now, this is what you all currently see, right? Which is there are default settings. And when you run this report, it runs it for all the restaurants with these same settings. So now you'll be able to customize those settings here. Then when you run the report, it uses the default settings for those restaurants. So what will happen now is, like, let's say Jeremiah has a restaurant that says, we want all of our tips and we're going to even handle customer service for our takeout orders. So you guys don't have to handle that, right? He could set the one restaurant to get their tips, and theirs would show with tips, right? Because show takeout tips. Now, if they have it on, then it would show them and they would get those tips. If he has another restaurant that says, listen, we're just packaging it, you guys deal with the customer, you guys keep the tips, whatever, then he would set them to not have takeout tips. And when that report runs and it auto pays them, it will pay them accordingly. So I hope that makes sense, that the biggest difference is currently everything is run the same. And when you even when you auto send these reports, right? Like if you're auto sending a report to a restaurant, it's just sending it with with these settings right now. Soon it will send it with these settings. So they're all going to get the reports based on whatever rules you set up for them. They'll get auto paid based on this. That will be the last step. And then of course you'll be able to just run, if you're paying them manually, you'll be able to just run them all, pay them all, and they all will reflect the default settings. Now, if you wanted to see what it would look like with everything, takeout tips on for everyone, you could still do that. So instead of just having a checkbox to include or not include it like we do here, right? Omit takeout tips, you can either turn it on or off. Now you'll be able to have it as default, which will be on for some, off for some, or you could show it on for all, off for all. Jacques.
Aloha, Joe. For those of us who are going to keep it just as it is, do we need to change any settings and go in and set defaults, or will it automatically defer to what it is?
You won't. What I've asked them to do is default the settings to exactly what things look like if you just run it like this.
Okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Yep. And that's something I'll make sure I double check when I'm going through these, testing them out. Some other items that we found and are working on in the reporting right now. We've been actually, let me see if I can, let me find this ticket real quick. Give me 1 second so I can pull up the new report that I'm testing. All right. So right now, when you run a daily financial, and I'm just going to run this for 1 day real quick. And I don't know if I'll have errors on this, but I know these errors do exist. But restaurant sales, right? So this shows total restaurant sales. And if I click into this, you should be able to add up well, we had people saying that it didn't add up, right? Like these total sales didn't add up to those. The reason is the markup is included. So we just added like that information on here. So now when you're going to run this report, this will probably be released Tuesday as well. You're going to see here, it says includes RDS markup, right? So there were just some things that were not clear, like restaurant sales. Well, for a restaurant, when you look at the summary, the food sales are one thing, but your restaurant sales would include your menu markups. So we're just letting you know that that's included in the report. The other thing that we noticed was when you run this report, sometimes when you add these lines up, everything here, it doesn't equal this, which it should. The reason was that easy fees some fees were being counted but not displayed. So we fixed that issue too. All in all, of course, the goal here is just to make sure like you can track back every dollar all the time, right? So there are just some improvements coming on the daily financial report. the restaurant reports. So we've updated a couple of these reports. We've moved some items that we were calling them easy fees, but here's what it was. I'm sorry, but I've been working on a lot of reports. What happened was, does anyone use the ability to hide delivery fees in like your locational fees? So it's like that subsidy setting. Are you all familiar with that?
I used to use it.
Okay.
My service fees are combined with my tax though, so I don't know if that helps.
It's all the same, and really all this feature does is it allows you to take a portion of your delivery fees and then remove them from delivery fees, because we've learned this from a ton of statistics that consumers, the biggest thing they react negatively to is a large delivery fee. Like, you could literally build someone an order that costs them $35 with a $5 delivery fee, so it's a total of 40. Or you could build them an order that costs them $39, the same exact order, with a $3 delivery fee, and they actually are happier with that. It's crazy, but that's just what it is. So we have that feature where you can essentially pull the delivery fees out of the delivery fee line and shove them into the taxes and fees line. Well, what was happening was we were counting them as part of additional fees when really they're not. They should just be dropped out, and they're still in the reporting, just delivery fees. So we fixed that issue. And then the last thing that we found was a little bug that when you have a national partner redelivery, it wasn't counting the redelivery in the revenue, but it was counting the credit that you put that the redelivery puts on the order in the credits. So just like these little things we've been running through, and it will just make these reports more accurate. So, and if you find anything like that, please let us know. There's also been some fixes to the taxes that have been implemented for a while now. I know I talked about the floor pay for drivers. So we do have that new option now where and I believe the floor pay will be released to everyone possibly this coming Tuesday, but if not, I would be very surprised if it's not the Tuesday after that. We've been running it, and we've got some little changes we're going to make, but there's now the option. Where did we put this? Oh, it's not on here yet. Sorry. Let me go on the client that's testing it. Oops.
Yeah, if that's the date range we're looking for, we can probably get that done.
So, and I know we kind of went over this a little bit before, but we now have this option to do floor pay for drivers. So here's the hourly pay minimum, and then declines allowed. So if they have declines, they don't get this. It's been working well. We're adding some items to it. So for example, one thing we notice is that drivers, since they can check in on their own, essentially it gives you less control over when they check in. We actually had drivers that checked in, and we don't know if it was accidental or not, but they checked in at like, whatever, midnight, and checked out at like 4 a.m, right? And those 4 hours got counted as working hours for their minimum pay. So we're adding the ability to have to approve check-ins, which will be like there will be a new box if you decide to do this, or when a driver checks in on the dispatch page, you just hit like a little button and approve their check-in. So then you know, like, okay, they're in there, they're in for the minimum hourly pay, and it's just a little extra line of protection. And then we're doing some upgrades to reports to help monitor that what people are getting paid, why they're getting paid that, and the ability to see if a driver worked for a certain amount of hours but did not have a single order, because in that case we can't actually give him the floor pay minimum. You'd have to do it manually, because if there's no order to apply the floor pay credit to, we can't do it, and we can't hold on to that credit and like put it on a future order. It just becomes very complex. So once those things are done, which we should be finished with most of those items today, and they'll go into testing tomorrow, this will be released to everyone. We'll have some good reporting behind it. And it's just something that you can use, I think, especially if you're opening like a new market. It's a great way to make sure drivers will stay on, and you have people for certain times that are getting paid. And remember this, you can set these minimum hourly wages on the location and override them on the driver. So that's it. That's all I have for today, really. I think next week we'll have all these reports updated. Although for you all, it just depends on whether you're using those features that are affecting the daily financial to be off when you're looking at lining up restaurant totals to your sales totals for restaurants and credits and items like that. But of course, just having very accurate reporting is very important. We're always working on that. So also, I know that we've had a lot of chat about the driver app. So I'll just go ahead and say right now, the two main things that we're working on for the driver app are the audio shutting off quicker. I know there's an issue with the cha-ching continuing to play, and then the addresses. So we have actually found a couple of examples. It's real interesting that in our system on the dispatch screen, when we map out, like if you're on I don't know if you all know about this, but when you're on a dispatch screen, if you right click on an order, you can go to map and Google map it, right? And it'll pull up that drive for you. We actually found, like from clients submitting us order numbers, a handful of orders that, let's say we have 1833 as the address, and it shows it everywhere in the system. When we send it to Google, even here, it changes this to like 1831, right? So, and those orders are the same orders that drivers were saying, hey, it sent me to a wrong address. So we think we'll have that squashed out probably by next week. I know that's something that a handful of you have brought up on this call as well. All right. Any questions? Jeremiah.
I haven't taken in about this, but you're talking about that mapping issue to Google there. I keep having ones that are just nowhere near the actual address. Yeah.
You know the ticket number by any chance?
Let me pull it up real quick. Sorry, it's just taking me a second to log in here.
That's all right.
Yeah, for sure. No, great.
When you find that, just raise your hand back. Oh,
Okay.
also, Jeremiah, the sub options on the restaurant app, those are in testing as well. So it's going to show infinity option levels. for some reason we stopped it at level 3, and now we've just expanded it infinitely.
Okay.
So like that bacon issue or whatever, that was just we weren't going that far on the Order Logic app.
All right.
All right, Jacques.
Hey Joe, my audio cut out there for a second when you were talking about the driver app. But one of the issues, which I have tickets in from the past, which I'll do another one if necessary. The instructions are not coming through for some of the tickets, where the houses or leave on the porch or anything else. It's not coming through for the drivers.
I do know that we have a ticket in the works. I think it's like a certain place where people can add instructions. It's one place that it's not piping through, and that's being fixed.
Okay, cool. Thank you, sir.
Jeremiah, I'll come back to you. I imagine maybe of that number.
For the instructions things, once we did that final update, it fixed all the instructions for us.
Did it? Okay, yeah, it might be out there. So, but I know that was worked on already as well. It's good. So, Jacques, you might just need to tell your drivers to do an update. And I know there's one coming for the audio issue as well.
Yeah, maybe it didn't come in my area yet, because it's actually for my wife and myself, and we're on the latest. But we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Jeremiah, did you have that ticket number?
Yeah, it looks like it got closed. I'm not really sure, but it's a BSD 35844.
Oh, looks like they closed it out because we have another ticket. Let me just make sure.
It kind of caught us off guard because we used a third-party driver on one of those, and basically they just ended up keeping the food because they went to a place. They're like,
It
"There's
sent
nothing
them.
here."
It's okay. I think it is the same issue then. It's our system actually sending the wrong address. It's not. So that is something we're working on, but I'm gonna give it back to Evan.
Yeah, we didn't realize it was mapping wrong until the third-party driver had already picked it up, and then it was just watching
Yeah.
a slow train wreck going, "That's never going to make it."
I wonder. Did you put an order number in here for this? Yeah.
They should be in there.
Yeah, here it is. I just want to see it real quick. See if this does the same thing that we realized like yesterday. Because then I'll just add this to the notes.
Can I?
All right,
Yeah,
so we have.
There's 2 order numbers here. There's one down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 7871.
Can I comment on something on the mapping?
Sure.
I had an order the other day that it was like 10 miles plus off from where it's supposed to be dropped off at.
Yeah, and see this, Jeremiah, this is interesting because it looks like it's not even giving us an address here really to end. See how it's just saying that means I wonder if this doesn't map well with Google.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's like 75 something, I believe, but that's like 7,500 blocks west of Main Street. For some reason, it's sent him to like 3,600 or 3,600, just 36 blocks west, which was like 40 blocks off.
So this is the correct address right here, right?
That is the correct address, yes.
And then this and you're going to be better to look at this than me. This is where, see this, when I convert this over, see how the destination is just Gainesville? It doesn't have the address in there anymore.
Okay.
That is what's happening, and it's sending them to the wrong place completely. Okay, I'm going to reopen this as another example and attach it to what we're doing. Let's see. Here's the ticket he's working on, and this is the one. So I think they have a bunch of examples in here. I'm just going to link your ticket to this ticket. So he has them both.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, with if it's having them go next door, then the drivers need to check the address, but at least they're in the right spot, sort of. But with that
Yeah. This
way
is
off,
yeah, I haven't seen this where it actually just drops the whole address and puts Gainesville in there. Like normally it will just change the address, but you'll see here, like if you go in and you do this and you map, it should always just drop the right address in there, which is what it normally does. And this is the information we're passing to the app. So there's something going on there with some addresses. But we'll get to the bottom of it. I mean, it's in the queue right now and being worked on. So those are all the same.
Something I will say too is that DoorDash is having the same issue with the mapping.
It's interesting. Yeah, we when we talked about it this morning, one of the developers was worried that it's a Google issue, like just transferring that information over, which is crazy to me because really we're sending them the exact address and they should just be dropping that in and using it. But I mean, hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it, but it's being worked on. So those address issues were on them.
It's been happening, like I'd say, like the last 2 weeks. I've noticed a lot of DoorDash drivers saying the same thing.
That's real interesting because I know before it was a driver app issue, we used to pass lat longs. So we would take the lat long and pass that. Well, what would happen is sometimes the lat long would just drop the pin on the house next to it. And that was the issue. So now we only pass lat longs for places. And if an address is not registering it, like if Google doesn't register the address, but you saw that when I put that address in Google, it registered it. There's no issue with that address. There are times where we put an address in and Google can't find it. In that case, we would use the lat long. In this case, it's just like they're dropping a valid address and putting something else in. And in Jeremiah, in your case, They literally didn't even put another address in. They just put Gainesville, Florida in there, which is crazy. Could be our issue, could be theirs, but hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it soon. All right, Dusty.
Yeah, Joe. Do you have any idea if the taxing update is if it's close to being live? Do you know what
For
I'm talking
taxing, for taxing on the delivery zip?
about? Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah, I think you'll have that. I mean, that's done. And I believe we will release it on Tuesday.
Sweet.
I'm going to talk to the guys who are testing it to make sure that whatever they ran looked right to them. Because for us, when we do internal reporting, especially with tax stuff for other states and other rules, we're like, we think this is how it's supposed to work. Once you get into the client's hand, of course, you find out a little bit more. So as long as they greenlight it, it'll be released.
Okay, gotcha. That sounds good. Is there would there be any issues with having, because I'm working with Stacy, right? She has three towns in 3 states. It's technically one market, right? So I'm advising her to break up all the locations into 3 locations and then just link them to share restaurant and driver pool, which I think that works. And it damn near fixes her tax issues too with just linked locations. So I believe that the tax stuff that y'all are releasing Tuesday puts in the final fixes. But I just want to make sure there's no kind of issues with the linked location feature.
There shouldn't be, because the guys that are using it are using linked locations as well.
Okay.
So it was built and tested to work with linked locations. And essentially what happens is the order will take on the locational tax rate unless the zip code has a custom tax rate entered into it. In that case, the zip code tax rate will override and replace the locational tax rate.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Sounds good. I'll look forward to that on Tuesday then.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Hey Joe, how's it going?
What's up, Christoph? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks. Yeah, I have a question, quick. I'm trying to find where I saw that this morning. It's additional charges report, all locations. We have the service fee set up, right? But I also noticed another one just says service charge, and those were like for 11 orders. So I'm curious to know what is that?
So for the additional charges, I always go straight from here. And this will show the additional charges report, which I believe is found in orders.
Maybe the top one, additional charges.
Yep, that's it. Yep. Yeah. And then you said you found another one that was just what?
Let me just check the screenshot here. I think it's just called service charge. Yeah.
Well, that should be in this. Are you saying like it's in here?
Yeah, it's like that. They're like that one there.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
And you're wondering where that's coming from?
Yeah, because we only have the service fee set up, right?
Let me see. Mind if I pull your URL up here? Or you
No,
want me
go
to
ahead.
do it?
No, it's
Okay.
fine.
So that is it in all locations or in a specific location?
No, it's all locations. Yeah.
Okay. So here is the service fee where it's set up,
Right.
and this should just be represented in that.
Yeah, which
I believe.
it does. I mean, we have
Okay.
the service fee, but then there's 11 other ones that's just called service charge.
Let me take a look at that.
I just ran it for like last week, the 31st until the 5th, I believe.
I'm just gonna run it for one day, just so it's this one, right?
No,
Oh, but you're getting more if you run it longer, huh?
yeah, so until the 5th, yeah. And that should do it.
I'm only getting this one.
You know, that's odd.
Yeah. You're getting more than this?
Yeah, I might have actually clicked on, I think maybe the daily reports that,
Mm.
and I think then it took me to that, might have been. So financial daily, and I also ran it for the same date range, so 31st.
30th to the 5th?
Yeah. I checked those boxes. I don't know if it matters. They include expenses and marketing
Shouldn't
fees.
matter for this one. And then, did you click in here or here? Let's do,
I'm
let's
not
look at
sure
this one
if
first.
that one, yeah, that's odd.
So
But
this
I
one's
can,
the same one.
yeah, I can send you the screenshot. I have it. Took it this morning.
Yeah. Or just send me the URL. If you want to Slack me the URL of that report.
Right, I'll go back to my history and see, because I'm running like 20 reports, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
to see,
Yeah.
to trying to figure them out. But yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
appreciate it.
sure. Yep, no problem. All right. Any other questions?
I'm good.
No, everyone's good. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for. Oh, Jeff, you can't leave, Jeff.
I got the buzzer beater. Hold on just a second. I was at a concert for my kids. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, Saturday I started Ghost Kitchen Wow Bao within my pizza shop, and
Okay.
I think you told me before why, but I created the account and everything for auto pay, but every order on Saturday shows not paid to me.
Potsdam?
No, Ogdensburg. And it was just weird because the money went to CrossPay. So, and I set everything up before then. It's not like I set it up a half an hour before. I set it up, I think, the day before or the day of, like in the morning, before I started. Before I started Wildbound. So I didn't know if you can see if I need to pay myself from Food Fetch or if it's still going to be auto pay.
Six four. So 6-4. You're saying up here didn't get paid.
Yeah,
right?
like every order on Wowbow on Saturday, I think I only opened it up for a couple hours or an hour and a half or something, but I think there was like 5 or 6. Every order on Saturday did not get paid when I look at the invoice for that day. So I didn't know why that was, and when I looked through, I saw CrossPay, and I was going to send a ticket in, but I figured because of the call today, I'll just wait. So I didn't know. Like I said, if you can elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, let me just see. Let me just find this user.
I think it's just Wowbow at Food Fetch.
Activated 6-4 at 12:51. Yeah, I think at this point, because I'm not sure why it wouldn't have paid those, Jeff.
Yeah,
But
impersonate them and take a look and see if it shows on their side.
yeah, it won't be in there because it shows no, which means auto pay did not. The nice thing is you own this, right, Jeff? And it's your
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just paying. He's robbing Peter to pay Paul, basically.
So I'm wondering if it's because it was a Saturday and it takes a little bit longer to set up auto pay on a Saturday.
It
So
shouldn't, man. It really
because
shouldn't matter.
because if you look at those order numbers and you go down to the bottom on the invoice, it does show cross pay, like where it went to different orders. So that's why I was like, well, maybe it took some of that, went to other orders, that kind of stuff. So I didn't want to pay myself and then come to find out I'm going to get auto pay. But if I pay myself or if Food Fetch pays WowBow, I mark it as paid.
Yeah.
There should not be no more auto pay for those because it's
There-
going to be
it
marked.
will Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, like
perfect.
if I were to mark all of these paid, it would no longer attempt to pay them.
Perfect.
So as long as they say pending and you pay them, no matter what, it won't attempt to pay them anymore.
Okay, perfect. That's what I'll do then. All right, awesome.
Okay.
See, that was an easy one.
Yeah. Jeremiah.
Just a quick question. We've run into this problem a lot, and my dispatchers have been asking me if I can bring it up with you.
Okay.
On the menus and the headings, is there any plans to like be able to block headings for a certain time or disable them for a certain time? We have a lot of Asian restaurants with sushi. Sometimes the sushi chef doesn't show up, stuff like that, and they're big pieces of the menu, like the sushi menu side, and they'll be like, hey, our sushi chef isn't here today, so we need to block that for the day. And it's just kind of a pain because you can't block like the sushi heading, you know what I mean?
Well, you can deactivate just the heading. The issue is you can't auto reactivate it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like set time period. So it's
So you want to use it the same way we do here, like be able to hide it until kind of thing.
Exactly, because we've had it come up a few times where people have deactivated like sushi on a popular restaurant and not said anything, and it hasn't been reactivated, and
then you lose that business. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I could.
Is that a POS integrated restaurant there?
I'm not sure. This one?
No, must not be. No, it's not.
I don't think so.
No.
It really seems to be mostly a problem for us with sushi.
So you're saying that somebody at dispatch like hides it, but they don't put a date when it comes back?
Well, there is an ability to put a date, so it's they just deactivate it.
Oh.
And then there has to be a go back and activate it again type situation. And a couple times it's been missed. And I think we had one of our most popular restaurants. We had their whole sushi menu down for about 2 weeks. Didn't realize it for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, that hurts.
I would love that feature too.
Yeah.
Good call.
Hey Joe, before did you already talk about? If you did, I apologize for missing it. But did you have an update on the DoorDash drivers, or is that still still waiting?
We finally got contact from them. We finished the integration, and now we have to give them like a video of the process and how we do everything. Matt started it yesterday. He should have it completed today. We'll send it back off to them, and hopefully they'll just approve us.
So probably somewhere in the next 2 to 4 weeks, somewhere around there, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. This is the only thing that scares me. When they asked us for the video, I responded back for the parameters about 4 times before they responded to me like a week and a half later, right? So if it takes them that long to just give us what they need and respond to the email, I worry about how long it will take them to implement.
Yeah, for sure. It could be 2 months before all the communication is done, and you'll be looking at 3 or 4 months.
Right.
So,
Yeah. You just never know with that stuff.
yeah, for sure. All right, perfect. All right, awesome. Well, thank you. Have a good one.
All right. You too. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, for the smart map, actually having
Mm-hmm.
it say ready when the order is ready. It just, basically just goes into place, and that's as far as it goes.
Oh, you're saying when you're viewing the smart map, right?
Yeah, and in the driver app too, it'll just like it'll give them a notification now. You guys got that all done. Thank you for that. It's ready, but it still just says placed in the app and on the smart map.
Yeah, it's funny. I have this ticket that, essentially, I don't know if any of you dispatch from here. So first off, I'll tell you some things about the map. There are a lot of things that we have planned to do to it, right? Things that we know would be beneficial, like when an order is placed, to change the color of the restaurant. So like, oh, and have like a little floating thing that says when the pickup time is for this order, right? So like right here, if I'm viewing an order, it doesn't let me know if it's been placed, if it needs to be picked up. So how do I really know what driver to assign to it, right? So there are all these things that we know could be improved to this, but then we also have this side of us where we're working so hard on auto dispatch, and we know that that is the future, right? That how many resources do we put in to updating something that we think will be used less and less as time goes on? So I agree. I have a
Right.
ticket in on it. And then it just becomes like, how great can we make auto dispatch? And how long would it take to make these other updates for people that aren't using auto dispatch yet, right?
Yeah,
So that is,
I'm good with that. Even just getting it's put in ready in the driver app would just be a huge
I
one.
see what you're saying. Yeah, so they know like I need to get there ASAP.
Yeah, because if you miss the notification,
Yeah,
you're looking at it.
yeah. And I mean, look, and the reason I say things like that is I don't want, there's so much we're working on all the time. And I don't want to say like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to get that done, when I know that if we bring this up into a conversation, like between our team internally, there's going to be this argument of like, hey, we need to be focused on auto dispatch, making it better, making it cheaper, making it so clients don't even have to think about whether they're using it or not, right? Um, so, but yeah, I'll definitely bring that up in our meeting on Monday, where we talk about some stuff. And maybe, when we look at it, if we bring it to a developer and they say, yeah, to add these things will take, half a day, then maybe it's worth it to do it. So, Mark, did you finish your Figma yet?
I'm working on it now. That's one of my questions.
Yeah.
Working on it. So I wanted to know if I should open it up to the group in here to kind of get some feature requests as I design this, because I was asking Anthony about that. He said design it to whatever, but I didn't know if I could open it up either that or on, like, if you want me to put it out on the Facebook group or like a poll, or should I just keep it internally in here for now? Because I don't, too
I
many
mean,
people gets all of a sudden it gets blown out of the water and nothing. So I just want to kind of,
yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the examples of the schedulers that I've used and what's out there, but I just
Right.
want to kind of see what other features, can be added in, like, the ability to pull up historical data when you're looking at making a schedule would be nice to have.
Right.
Like, last year on this date or this week, you needed this many drivers per day or per lunch
Right.
shift or whatever, that kind of stuff. That would
Yeah.
be nice
And
to have. But
trends. Like last year,
trends, right,
you did this and you're trending up 10%, you're trending down
right.
5. Like this. Yeah. You want your
Hence the
order
setting,
to driver
right.
ratio here. Yeah. What time should people check in? I mean, because we could really do it by the minute, right? Like if you want to
Right.
keep your order ratio at 1.5, then schedule this. If you want to keep it at 2, schedule this. I mean, there's so much you could do there.
Right.
To
And
me,
auto scheduling, like, or auto building a template, like, here's what we suggest for next week.
right.
Approve it, or you want to add to it. That type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on this is I think there's always a middle ground. Like, I would say maybe keep it with the smaller group at first,
Okay.
right? Get some
In here,
feedback.
in
And
here.
yeah, and here's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
And then when you have like a first draft, then you can put it up on Facebook. And I mean, in the end, what happens is we just start cutting away the fat, but you don't want
Right.
all that noise like right from the beginning.
Right.
And the more you get done before you share it with everyone, the less like little crazy comments you'll probably get
Right.
that we'll have
Right.
to ignore, right?
Okay.
So,
All right.
you
So
want to share your screen? You want what do you want to do?
Yeah, I can show. Let me bring up the Figma board here. Like, I'm just designing out right now, just like the interface type of thing.
Yeah.
So let me bring up.
Just for those of you that don't know what's going on right now, we've always talked about doing an internal scheduler, and now with the floor pay, that has become more of a priority, basically, because when you have floor pay and you start to have all these other features like scoring drivers and how many orders they decline and all this stuff, we're bringing that up a little on the development plan. So Mark, who's a client and does some great design work, has taken on the job of designing the scheduler. So that's what he's going to share. So this will be like a fully integrated scheduler, like a hot schedules or schedule fly or whatever. That will be part of the software.
That's really cool. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. I just might have to log out and log back in here because of my Apple sharing here. I have to approve it for Google. So I'm gonna drop back and I'll come back right in a second.
Sounds good. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to items like this, we've always looked at adding a scheduler, right? And in the past, we look at, is there another company that can provide this? And is it affordable? Do our clients use it? And it's always been yes. But when you start to add more things onto the system that rely on the schedule, then it doesn't matter if someone else has it, right? So this is how things just end up moving up the priority list. And then, of course, if we can have someone who we know does good design work whip it up, which Mark does.
And it's about the money sometimes. And this is what it is.
It is. Yeah, it is. And we looked at integrating with a lot of these third parties, but it was expensive. We were like, there's no reason to do this. It's not doing anything for us. And it's expensive. It's going to be too expensive for our clients.
Yeah, I pay close to $100 a month for when I work, and
yeah.
if I could get something that's more tied into DeliverLogic, I'd pay for it, no problem.
I think it might be best if we did like I was talking to Dusty, is maybe like a base price plus a per user thing. After, you know what I mean? Like after a certain number of users, because then it also keeps people from having extra drivers that are inactive and those kind of things. And it kind of cleans up your driver pool in your system stuff. So
yes, similar to how we do the push notifications, right, Mark? Where it's like, oh, it's $50 a month or whatever, and once you expand the amount, then you pay that. So yeah, we'll probably do it like that.
So this is just kind of like a base admin screen to kind of I'm laying this out right now. It's kind of similar to what I use for Connect Team or when I work, where open shifts, where this will be like the open shifts that are available. This would be a driver with 2 shifts on the same day, how it auto expands out. I haven't put the names and stuff here. This is like a single shift that they're just picking up. If it's got a bonus, it would show on here. And then if they pick up like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, depending on how many shifts, that type of thing, it'll expand out there. If they've accepted their shift, it'll be green. if they're like assigned a shift and they haven't accepted it, it will go red. So you know if they, they've been added a shift, but they haven't like accepted it. So you can't be for sure if they're going to show up. That's kind of like where I've gotten to point right now. And then like a template view, a settings page inside of here for different things, the ability to add a shift. I think I did this is, let's see.
Can you duplicate a shift? How about duplicating a shift?
Yeah, like you could duplicate it or, open up. If you clicked on, I'm going to build these out, but if you click on the user, it would open up their settings for that driver.
Great.
Basically the driver, because I'm going to put it into the driver settings, like where you sign them up, where you're under, where you can click like your pay bag and your pay card and all that stuff. Like you could click that and have like a portal, a module to open up. Whether we put like a max number of shifts per week, a max number of hours, or shifts per day, or something like that. Those are settings that we have to put in there. This would be on the admin section. And then on the driver section, it would be like similar to this, where, you would have like a weekly view, your weekly view that would scroll across. If you have no shifts, you can click a plus to add it. It's located, coded as breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or however you do it. You could, like if you just want to look at lunch shifts, you could filter down. That type of thing. Dropping shifts is just as simple as a minus with a pop-up say, are you sure? Basically if they have a, maybe some filters like, display only shifts that, if they're on, if they already have a money shift, like an additional bonus shift. That's the question is, do we have it as a flat rate on every shift plus a bonus, or those are questions how we want to set it up.
Yeah, I would say
because there might be like a flat out, like you said, like a flat hourly rate on every shift that you want to offer, but also a bonus on that shift on top of it just for completing it. So it'll kind of like add on, in addition to that, to kind of make some of them, more attractive than others.
Yeah. So my opinion would be, so first of all, we already know we have the floor pay in there. So I would say the ability to add an hourly minimum to a shift would probably be great. So you could override what's in the location or on the driver and say, listen, if you're going to work this late night shift, we're guaranteeing you $15 an hour, right? Like whatever you want to do. So I would say
or like if they sign up in advance, they get the bonuses, or they go away within a certain time period, they can't just log in and get a bonus right away. Like the bonus shifts might go away right up, because then they'll game the system, that type of thing.
Yeah. But
that's what I'm worried about.
Do you more want to give bonuses? Well, I guess what you could do, I guess what we could do, and it's funny.
That's what I want to have a discussion of what everybody would like, how they want to do this. Because that, having those things set in from the beginning is a lot of years, and adding them later. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I'm down if you want to get like a group together to like talk about it and stuff. I'm in.
Yeah, that's really cool, Mark. I mean, that's a really nice wireframe to add about that bonus. I suppose something similar to the search pay would work. For example, an extra $1, $2 per order to make that night shift or morning shift more attractive.
Right. And then the other thing is are we ever going to have a late night shift, like the separate from breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the system, to be able to have, somebody, after 9 to 1 or 9 to 2 a.m.? Is that something that possibility?
We're actually discussing that right now because we're having an issue with the Hooters menus.
Right. Certain menus, like people only want late night menu stuff. So it's kind of.
So I would say yes. We're probably going to look at shifting nighttime to go till let's say 4 a.m. or something. And then breakfast would start at 6. So dinner would be, instead of having to end at 11:59, we'd have to stretch that out. Or we'd have to add another shift in there, one of those things. So, but you can definitely frame it out for that. And then we'll either say, okay, we're going to add this, or it's not worth to add it yet. and we're just going to remove that until we have that on RDS Logic, right?
Right. And then the other thing
For
is
the-
like be able to put like, you know, like how much each day you're guaranteeing out there, like just as you're to kind of see, you know, and what percentage of the shifts are picked up, how many shifts you have out there, all these
Yeah.
different things that you can put in there. But this is kind of a baseline of where I got to up till
Yeah, well,
basically last Friday, and then I have been working on other stuff since then. But
let's do this. Let's plan. Listen, next week, let's
Mhm.
plan on. We'll get through the financial stuff pretty quickly. I mean, I don't think many people have a ton of financial questions right now, which is great. So I'll go over updates, and then we'll jump into this, and then we'll
Okay.
just do open forum after this. So now that everyone on the call's kind of seen this, they can absorb it a little bit, maybe take some notes, and then next week we
Screenshots,
can,
yeah.
we can discuss this. And if anyone has any feedback, we can, you can take that in and work on some stuff. I would definitely say for when it comes to bonuses, having the option for per order, per shift, and per hour would be.
And then maybe a weekly bonus too. That would be nice to have, like, you know, do so many orders in a week, you know, that way be able to have that. I don't know if that logic can be added in.
I don't think you need that on the schedule, Mark. I think that's something we're planning
Overall?
to do anyway, right?
Okay.
Yeah, because that would just be like pick up enough shifts, and if you do these things, then you get this bonus, right? So like that would be, I believe that would be outside of any like I think for this schedule, you're looking at what do I need to give people to pick these shifts up, right?
Right.
Then when you talk about blended bonuses, like, oh, you delivered X orders in a month, those would be like from the database, you would set these settings, and when they hit those settings, they would get those bonuses. I don't think that you would need to
add-on
include that
bonuses,
on.
right?
Correct.
Right. It would be
Correct.
add-on, not
Yeah.
Minimum requirement type things. Yeah.
Correct.
But,
And
yeah,
for the decline thing, is it going to be just during that shift or all day? Because that's the other thing you're gonna have to look at too. Because like
Right.
you know, with Grubhub, it's not just during that block. Is if you're logged in at another time in our declining hours, that counts for the whole day.
Yeah, so it's a good question. And it's funny because we have to add the declines now to a report because the floor pay, obviously, right? So when we were talking about it today with the developer who's doing all this stuff for the floor pay, he was like, we're not actually even storing that yet. So the ticket that I created for him is not just to store that basically, it's to store it in thought of we could use this to manage drivers' bonuses, manage the percentage of pay they get. I think it's something that should be added on the dispatch screen, right? So like when you're looking at a driver, if Joe's declined 4 orders today, you might just be like, hey, Joe, go ahead and check out. You're obviously not taking orders, right? Like we don't need you here making it like taking hourly pay or looking like we have enough drivers when you're just declining everything. So there's a bunch of stuff we're going to start doing with that. But I think that all of that stuff is outside of the schedule, right? It's like this should be focused on when people work, how to get them to work, and to be able to use this to cross-check with their min pay. So in other words, if someone is scheduled for a certain amount of hours and shifts, their min pay cannot go past those hours unless they have a live order or something like that, right? But all that like other stuff, I think we'll do with the data, and it will be settings outside of the schedule.
Okay. And will this link? Could we have the scheduler kind of linked to the check-in process? So basically, drivers that aren't on the schedule, like like almost like an approval type thing. Like they could request to check in, and then the dispatcher can approve them if we need them, type of thing.
So Mark,
I was thinking the same.
We're building that right now for the guys who are testing the floor pay stuff, right? So we're building that. There's going to be a new driver box at the top of all the cities that when drivers go to check in, you just click to approve them, right? What would happen is if a driver's, once this is built, when a driver's on the schedule, you would no longer have to approve them. They would just suck right in. If a driver tries to check in that's not on the schedule, you would have to approve them. So yeah, all that stuff's already, we'll do that in the back end. We just got to worry about how to manage the schedule here. And then that data will help us manage all the other items that have to do with like driver performance, check in, check out, minimum pay, all that stuff.
Okay. But I mean, is this a good start, I think, for this going forward? I
think so.
Okay.
I mean, my biggest thing is like the ability to create default schedules, to copy schedules.
Right. That's in here, like a template view for the week.
Yep.
You could, auto load your template, or
Yep.
keep a list of saved templates in there, and then a recommended template that would load up, maybe something that's like a cron that runs every Monday for the following week, like
Exactly.
a report, that just loads in for the following week.
Yeah. So I think those are big. And then the other thing would be probably something where we would include some kind of driver rating for being able to accept shifts. So like you can't have so many new drivers on at the same time, stuff like that. But I mean, that could be like a little later down the line, I would even say. I think we're off to a good start looking at the bonus stuff and just the easeability of generating, copying, managing schedules, how we can manage shift swaps and stuff like that.
And then
Yeah,
the other
we just
thing
don't
is
want it to log our drivers out at the end of their shift. We just want
Right.
the bonus pay stuff to end.
right.
Correct. So we'll have settings. We'll put a bunch of those settings in place, but those are the things like at the end, once we have all the wireframes and we talk about like how things are going to function. But like, yeah, do you want it to where a driver gets auto checked out if they have no orders and their shift ended, right? Or do you want them to be able to stay in and they just don't get minimum pay, or like minimum pay is only guaranteed during the shift?
Right.
Because in some cases, you
Like
might
a
not
prompt.
even want them to, you might not even want them to stay in, because then they're diluting the order volume per driver, and then drivers aren't as happy because you have a schedule based on making sure drivers are going to make money that keep them wanting to drive for you, right? So those will be all in the optional settings.
But also
Great things to have as
auto
notes.
dispatch might have to spread the love to the bonus drivers first before the non-bonus drivers also.
Yeah.
So
And listen, that's another thing, right? Like we'll have to hook up auto dispatch, where right now, if your order to driver ratio is like 3-to-1, we might send out a surge pay right now. But with this, we might know, 6 drivers are going to check in the next 5 minutes. We don't need to send that surge pay out, right? So, but that's stuff that we would have in the notes, not in the design, right? That'll be more in the functionality.
Right. And the other thing you can do is basically, if you're on a shift, because we already have driver prioritization in the drivers. So when they're on the shift, it bumps them up to 100%. Whoever's supposed to be on that schedule on that shift, and moves the other drivers down to 50. And then once your shift ends, you drop down to 50 on the prioritization.
There's so much we can do. So yeah, Mark, listen, this is a great start. If everyone wants to bring some ideas for next week, let's do that. We'll get them all written down, and they can be like little operational things. I would ask that you have them typed out, and we can just share them
in the chat
on here, so we can just copy it. Exactly, you can copy and paste them. Yep. So, all right, cool. Well, we're over time, but I think it was worth it. Mark, it looks good for a start, for sure. I like it. Follows our scheme. And that's it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mark. That looks awesome, and I think everybody's going to really enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone.
Hop off too.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good day.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.